to respond to emergencies and to provide immediate assistance as required.
And that report by Kalesaka Mbenze there in KwaZulu-Natal. Well, we have about 2 minutes, so let's quickly take you back to Limpopo. This is where our reporter, Abafani Munyai, is. And this morning, the Seshego Magistrates Court heard the statutory rape case against 28-year-old man who allegedly raped a 13-year-old girl. But the matter, of course, postponed this morning. But Abafani, good morning, good afternoon, rather. There seems to be a twist in this story, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, there were DNA results that found that the accused is actually not the father of the baby of the then 13-year-old. What do we know so far about these results, and how does this affect the case?
Yes, absolutely. You will know that the 28-year-old that was accused of statutory rape and sexual grooming was incarcerated a few days after Christmas Day last year. The bone of contention was that a 13-year-old girl gave birth to a baby girl or a baby boy during Christmas Day. Then it caused a bit of a rampage from the government officials, which were calling for his arrest. And eventually he was arrested, and he appeared this morning in the Seshego Magistrate Court just outside Polokwane. And I can confirm that the DNA results that were conducted has found that indeed is not the father. It has excluded him from being the father of the baby boy. And this now goes to the NPA so that they can make a decision. And it has been postponed to the 5th of May so that the Director for Public Prosecution can come up with a decision whether to prosecute the gentleman or the accused or not at this stage.
And this is a very interesting twist in these developments. But is the accused still in custody, Awafani?
The accused has since been released on bail a week ago. We just found out recently, I think yesterday, that he has since been accused. Immediately after they released the DNA results that he is not the father, they decided to take him to court and also release him on bail. And we spoke to the MEC for Health today here in Limpopo, Dieketseng Mashiho, who is now calling the law enforcement to further their investigation and find the real father of the child.
Interesting one, but we're out of time. We have to leave it there. Thanks so much, Abafani Munyai, who's the SABC reporter on that story. And unfortunately, we have to leave it there. It is 1 o'clock, but thanks so much for being with us. We'll do it again tomorrow. Here's Dineo Motaung with your news at 1. Thank you, Sakina. Top stories. Spotlight on transnational crime and Arab states slam Gaza aid blockade by Israel. A very good afternoon. National Police Commissioner Bridget Masinga says South Africa is facing a serious challenge when it comes to transnational organized crime. He says he hopes the development of a strategic plan to curb such crimes will be successful. Masinga has been speaking at the Transnational Organized Crime Strategy Planning session underway in Pretoria.
Main problem for South Africa transnational crime is especially theft of vehicles, especially 4x4s, SUVs, out of this country to North Africa. The problem of drugs and drug precursors coming from outside the country into South Africa, and also our financial inflows.
The Border Management Authority, BMA, says it has evacuated officials at the Stockport port of entry due to rising water levels. Earlier today, the BMA announced that operations have temporarily been suspended at 5 ports of entry. This follows severe flooding due to heavy rains. BMA Assistant Commissioner Peter Mpilo says operations have resumed at the Makobistad port of entry.
With regard to Stockport, we have temporarily suspended the operations due to a flooding. The water before the port, around the port, and after the port itself, you cannot even see the bridge. The bridge is completely submerged. It's for that reason that we had to evacuate our officials from the port, including that of SAPS and other support staff.
In Gauteng, Economic Development MEC Leboga Maile says law enforcement officers will crack down on non-compliant spaza shops and food handling outlets from today, including those that failed to register. He says over 15,000 of these businesses have been deemed non-compliant and that almost 500 of them closed with immediate effect. Friday was the deadline for all owners of spaza shops and food handling outlets to register their businesses. Maile says non-compliance has been the main challenge in the registration process.
You'll see the police will be ready. We will be joining them. We'll invite you in some of this. We're going to close those spaza shops. We'll be going to those spaza shops. We'll be leading those raids with the police.
We move to the Western Cape now, where the city of Cape Town says a firefighter was injured when a burning roof collapsed on him. The city's fire and rescue service spokesperson, Edward Bosch, says emergency services responded to a house that was alight in Kraaifontein. Bosch says the firefighter was fighting the blaze when a section of the roof came down on him. He says no one else was injured in the incident and the cause of the fire is yet to be determined. Lastly, further afield, Arab governments who helped to mediate the Gaza ceasefire have fiercely condemned Israel's decision to withhold aid supplies from the Gaza Strip. The BBC's Grant Ferret reports.
Israel's announcement early on Sunday that it was immediately stopping all humanitarian aid from entering Gaza has been widely criticised. Qatar and Egypt, both of which were involved in brokering January's ceasefire deal, led the condemnation. Qatar said it not only violated the deal, but amounted to using food as a weapon of war. Another mediator, Egypt, accused Israel of trying to starve the Palestinian people. Israel has dismissed as lies suggestions that Palestinians could starve as a result of its actions.
Recapping the top story at 1, National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola says South Africa is facing a serious challenge when it comes to transnational organized crime. For SFM News, I'm Dino Motaung. The next update is at 1:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation. A convicted murderer on death row, a vicar in a quiet English town, and a maths teacher trapped in a cellar cross paths in the most unexpected way. Jefferson Grief is on death row in an American prison for brutally murdering his wife. But it turns out that Grief has a gift. He can solve crimes from inside his cell. English journalist Beth Davenport needs Grief's help. Janice, a woman who recently helped Beth, has gone missing. The last Beth heard from Janice? A text with a blurry image of a man lunging towards the camera. Will Grief crack the case in time? Exactly how is Janice's local vicar involved? And is it really possible to solve a crime before it is committed? Tune into Inside Man, Monday to Wednesday at 9 p.m. Starts 12 February only on S3. Open up.
Whether we are at the workplace, within communities, at school, or with our friends and family, we all need to demonstrate the kind of responsibility that we would like to see in our country's future. SFM commemorates Human Rights Month. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Incomparable, Busi Mhlongo coming through with Ntandane is the title of this particular track. And this one was released back in 1994, around 1994. And it also featured in her album actually before that, a few years before that. So really it wasn't released in 1994. There's probably been a few renditions of the song because it also featured in the early 90s. Bapemu was the name of that album. And later on, around 2001, it also she had a live album that she recorded live at Awesome Africa Durban 2021, and it's a beautiful album. This one, I actually have it in my car, and it's the rendition of this song. Yeah, I have it on. Listen, if I gave you my phone, you'd be surprised when my music takes you all over the continent. So I have this album on my phone, and it's an incredible album that features a live performance from that event, and the live rendition of this song is just superb. That is how we kick off the show this afternoon. I hope you're having a great Monday thus far. I mean, it's a rainy and wet Monday in most parts of the country. That rain has been persisting happening not just in Johannesburg, but also in the KZN area, and actually causing quite a bit of destruction in many communities. So I hope at the very least, though, that you were able to put some positive energy out there today. Hey, we woke up on a good tip. We did. We woke up on a good tip because I was surprised by receiving a nomination at this year's Top Female Radio Presenter Africa Awards, hosted by Africa Golden Awards. And yeah, yours truly is nominated there as one of the top female radio presenters representing South Africa. And I'm on that list alongside my sister colleague from our sister radio station, Metro FM, Lerato Kganyago. So we'll keep you posted on those developments as the weeks unfold. In as far as the show goes, we've got lots on the agenda. We're going to be chatting the World Bank report, and this is a report that's looking at really just how low-income workers spend about 51% of their net wage on transport. And this is in accordance to the World Bank report on inclusive economic growth in South Africa. So we'll be unpacking that report in just a moment. And then we're giving you an opportunity here. We're going to bring you in a conversation where you can set your creative career on fire with the 2025 Arts and Culture Trust Scholarship. So we'll find out the details around that scholarship, of course, and what it takes for you to be able to qualify for it. Also coming up on the show today, we are tapping into a bit of our psychology. Are you mentally fatigued? Tips to manage your energy. It goes without saying that even though we are on the 3rd of March and we're entering the third month of the year where you think would be rejuvenated and revitalized, but a lot of people have hit the ground running, and so mental fatigue is a real thing. So we'll be having that conversation because we need to sustain this. We still have a whole, a whole year ahead of us, and there's no way that on the 3rd of March we can't be talking tips around how to just ensure that we have the momentum to sustain ourselves. I'll let you know what's coming up on the other side of 2 o'clock, closer to the time. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Get unbeatable football odds with SuperSport Bet. From derbies to title deciders, our Super Boosts give you boosted odds you won't find anywhere else. Switch today and get 100% deposit match up to 5,000 Rand. SuperSport Bet is licensed by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. Bookmaker license 101911097. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. National Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help 076 675 0710.
Bafana are taking on Lesotho at the new Pitamukaba Stadium on the 21st of March 2025 at 6 p.m. for the FIFA World Cup 2026 qualifier. Come early, dress to commemorate Human Rights Day, and support Bafana for a chance to win prizes from our host, Limpopo Government and Polokwane Municipality. Gates open at 3 p.m. and tickets start from 70 Rand for adults with special rates available at 40 Rand for children under 12 at all Ticket Pro outlets. If you can't make it to Polokwane, catch the game live on SABC2 at 6 p.m. or visit sabcsport.com. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana on X and TikTok.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
So, a recent World Bank report highlights the severe impact South Africa's transport crisis has on low-income workers who spend a staggering 51% of their net wage on transport. This report was launched in Cape Town, and it was attended by key officials, including the Finance Minister Enoch Godongwane, as well as Transport Minister Barbara Creecy. And it shed some light on just some of the inefficiencies of the country's urban mobility system. And we've got joining us now Vincent van der Westhuizen, who's an economist at DNA Economics in the public economics and modeling practice area. How are you doing this afternoon, Vincent?
Hello, good day. I hope you can hear me fine. I'm doing well, thanks. And yourself?
I'm great. Yes, no, we hear you just fine. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it. Let's unpack this report and and the necessity, in fact, to keep abreast with such data and such reporting?
Yes, sure thing. I guess I can just get straight into it.
Yeah.
As you said, the report focused, or the highlight of the report was this figure, that low-income earners in South Africa are spending 51% of their income on transport. While that's the highlight of the report, that's just the one figure from it. The report itself is actually centered around how to use cities in South Africa as engines of growth and economic inclusion. And of course, in South Africa, with all of our socioeconomic backgrounds, the figure of 51% of low-income workers is what draws our attention. So I'm not sure where exactly to begin. Maybe some framing points, or is there something that you would like to get into right off the bat?
We can definitely get into the framing points, perhaps, of, as you said, on the one hand, it highlighted the 51% of the spend going to transport. And then on the other hand, it also highlighted the use of cities as engines of growth. And we can definitely maybe just speak to some of the key findings that came out of the report further, and then we'll unpack them as we go along.
Perfect. Okay, then you must just please interrupt me if ever I've gone off
Don't
course.
stress, I will.
Great. Well, then a few framing points that's important for everyone to, not that we don't know them, but to remember them, is that there are three, I would say. The first one is that South Africa is a country with a history of spatial segregation stemming from the apartheid era. And even though it has been over 30 years since that era has ended, there hasn't been enough done or enough successfully done to remedy this, which has resulted in still spatial segregation taking place. And this isn't just where people live, this applies to their income, this applies to their work, and etc. So that's the first framing point. The second framing point is that South Africa is a mostly urban country. So that means with the high levels of urbanization towards the major cities, Cape Town, Johannesburg, etc., the country has 2/3 of its population and 3/4 of its economic activity concentrated in urban areas. While this in economic theory should help promote economic growth and development, because of South Africa's history, it has done the opposite. And the final point is the one that perhaps we will talk most to today, is that transport systems do directly tie into the economic development of a country, more than some may realize. When it is done good, with good investments and well-informed policies, it can support economic activity and employment and reduce inequality. However, when it is done poorly or when it's against a difficult backdrop such as South Africa's, this becomes a barrier to entering the labor market, which is crippling for individuals and for the overall economy.
And does this speak to then the point about the fact that these inefficiencies of the country's urban mobility system and of course that linger from the legacy of the apartheid era still very much today are the stumbling block in as far as economic stimulus and economic growth go in the country?
Well, it's a little bit of a difficult question to give a single answer to. Something that I guess is also good to point out is that this isn't a topic that hasn't been covered before. There's lots of research into the impact of transport on economic development in South Africa. And so there's lots of findings around, for example, how the rising fuel prices, weaker rand performance since 2011, unsuccessful investment into public transportation system, which I think is actually the most key one here, how these haven't been done successfully over the past few years, decade.
Yeah.
And how that is actually what is most crippling and the most important issue.
Yeah. So with 51% spending their net wage on transport, is this comparable to other economies, or where do we sit here? Is it much higher?
So, yes, estimates like that, you're right, they sound scary by themselves, but it's good to look at them in comparison to other countries.
Yeah.
So the first point I would say is that South Africans spend more on transport than global averages, and that's backed by research and studies. And it's actually been getting quite worse over the past decade. I don't have the exact figures, but I'm quite sure that estimates show between 2013 and 2020, transport costs have virtually doubled for users of cars, taxis, buses, and trains. They've increased. So, yeah, South Africans definitely spend more on transport than other countries. And then taking a closer look on the low-income earners, this World Bank report compares a low-income earner in South Africa to one in, just to make sure, a Vietnamese low-income worker. And they show that the comparable worker in Vietnamese worker would only spend less than $100 a month on transport, while in South Africa, the worker is spending over $500 a month on transport.
Shoo. Don. Okay, then tell me this. Knowing what or hearing what you've just said, what becomes then a way forward of addressing this? Because does the report call for some kind of reform in the public transport arena? I mean, I know there have been talks for the last couple of years now about getting the rail systems back up and running. There's been conversations just around urban planning as well, as you talk about that, historical apartheid, spatial segregation. What does the report say around the reforms that are needed in order to address and redress this situation?
So yes, the report does discuss some points, well, many points around what can be done. And unfortunately, some of them might be new and covered more, but some of them may also be points that have been repeated over the past few years. So the report separates the perspectives into a long-term and a short-term, which is always important to do when looking at socioeconomic issues. On the long-term side of things, they have two major points that need to be addressed, and they're the points they say intertwine. The first point is they say that urban centers, which are the major cities of economic activities, they need to offer more efficient and more affordable mass public infrastructure systems. So that's railways, that's buses, etc. And these systems also need to be integrated with more agile modes of transport, such as the minibus taxi industry. It needs to, simply put, there needs to be more of it, and it needs to be efficient and cheaper. And the second long-term point that they bring up is that cities need to become more compact, with shorter distances between businesses, workers, and consumers. Again, stemming from South Africa's history, there are big distances required for people staying in these spatially segregated areas to get to where the work is. And we simply can't have someone needing to travel for 2 to 3 hours to cover a vast distance to get to their work. So they would recommend investing or promoting building houses closer to business areas, for example. So these are their two long-term points. Of course, my add-on to this is that this all needs to be done specified to the area that's being looked at. South Africa is a diverse country, and so there are very specific factors of each area that make it unique.
Yeah.
But on the long-term side, that's what needs to be done.
Is it possible at this juncture, Vincent, because the conversation when it comes to addressing apartheid spatial planning and bringing workers closer to the centers of work has been a conversation that we keep hearing. Even just a few weeks ago, a week or two ago, the Gauteng Premier brought that point up as a topic of conversation in his address. But it seems as though there is either no appetite, no resource, or no real concrete plan as to how that can be feasible, how that can be done. And you say, as you've just pointed out as well, there needs to be a consideration for the different regions, and what might work for Cape Town, for Bloem, might not necessarily work for Joburg.
Yes, the reasons as to why things aren't being implemented are always numerous, and each one will deserve its own hour-long discussion. What I can say is, on these long-term points that need to be addressed, it needs to be understood that they will take time and they will require continuous effort. And perhaps that has been one of the crippling factors, is that it perhaps receives attention on a certain project for a little bit of time, but then it falls away with the sustained effort, the financial resources, and the political commitment. So that is the first point, is it needs to be sustained. It's not going to be a once-off overnight aspect. And that is often, I think, hard for socioeconomic planners to continue the investments as long as they need to be. And the second point is that it doesn't all have to be long-term, massive projects that require a huge amount of investments. These can also be coupled with short-term policies and short-term ideas, which, although they will still have huge financial considerations, would be a bit easier to digest and to get around. For example, as you have brought out, perhaps investing in PROSA, but not just plain investment, based on the appropriate allocation based on performance, or giving vouchers to poor customers to reduce their transportation costs. These are some of the policies put forward in the World Bank paper.
Vincent, I wish we had all the time in the world to continue this conversation and perhaps looking a little bit closer at the possible solutions, both short and long term, but we have to hold it there for this afternoon. That was Vincent van der Westhuizen. He's an economist at DNA Economics in the Public Economics and Modeling Practice area. It's just gone 1:30. Dineo Mutawung is standing by with your headline news.
Thank you, Bridget. Good afternoon. Let's take a look at the headlines at 1:30. Motorists can look forward to a marginal relief at the pumps, with fuel prices broadly set to decrease in March. In other news, National Police Commissioner Bridget Masinga says South Africa is facing a serious challenge when it comes to transnational organized crime, and a man who was attempting to row 12,000 kilometers single-handed across the Pacific has been rescued by the Australian Navy after spending nearly 6 months at sea. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. It's just gone 1:30. If you're just jumping into the car. Before we move on to our next conversation, let's quickly jump to WhatsApp. Remember, our WhatsApp line is open throughout the course of the day. So if you want to share your thoughts on any conversations, you're more than welcome to do so.
It is inconceivable and it is impossible that everybody will stay next to the workplace. Remember, it's not necessary a spatial planning per se, because only few people can stay within the city or the towns. The rest will stay in the periphery. Remember, even white people, the farmers were around Messina. They were around Mozambique, closer to Mozambique boundaries. Not all white people were staying in the city, because it's not possible to have everybody in the city and the town. The very few people will stay in the city and town. As we proceed and the population grow, people are going to stay far away from the city and the towns, and they will have to travel every day. It's not like only apartheid spatial planning that you are going to address it and resolve it, because even white people, all of them could not fit within the towns and the cities. So some will stay far. Rich people are moving outside the cities.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Definitely some valid points to that. Definitely some valid points. And I think perhaps the goal is not to ensure that, 100% of the workers stay within urban areas or stay within the distance of where they work, but to also come up with just ideas on how we can get at least a very good number of folks settled into, quality, low income, rent controlled housing that is within a relative distance, just to at least cut down. And as you heard from Vincent, also looking at other maybe more short-term measures, maybe, subsidized costs for travel, looking at an actual functioning public transport system, functioning, affordable rail and bus public transport system. Because I think if we had a functioning rail and bus transport system that was affordable, reliable, that took into account the dignity of people, trust me, even I would not be driving to work because this 35-minute commute from Four Ways into SABC becomes very long every day in traffic, you know. So I think if we can just come out with ways to do it, it would get us a lot further. And it's been tried and tested in many European countries. It works. We just need to figure out how to get it to work here. But right now we're shifting gears just a little bit. Angelina Kimani joins us as a program director, or program coordinator rather, at the Arts and Culture Trust, one of my favorite organizations, one of the oldest organizations functioning within the arts and culture fraternity. So are you a singer? Are you a dancer? Are you an actor? Are you a visual or digital artist? Did you qualify for tertiary studies? And are you eager for an opportunity to receive discipline-focused training and mentorship? So this conversation is about you. You know, on Mondays, we bring you some opportunities in the first hour of the show. And this is exactly that. How are you doing, Angelina?
I'm well, thank you, Bridget. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very, very much. Okay, let's jump straight into the crux of it. Tell us a little bit about this scholarship opportunity that you've opened up as the Arts and Culture Trust.
Thank you so much, Bridget, and good afternoon to the SAFM listeners. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak on the Acting Aloha Scholarship Program. So as you alluded to, ACT, for those that don't know, the organization is South Africa's premier independent development and arts investment organization. And one of our educational flagship initiatives is the Acting Aloha Scholarship Program. So we roll out this program in partnership with Nedbank and MTN. It is essentially a project designed to identify and nurture young South African talent in the arts. So we provide an opportunity for young artists across South Africa to pursue a tertiary qualification in the creative and performing arts at a South African tertiary or accredited institution. So we, through this opportunity, we're paying for registration costs, tuition fees, books and study material. And we award 2 scholarships in the discipline of performing arts and visual and digital arts.
And wonderful. So, okay, so you're looking for 2 applicants. I get the feeling you can get thousands of applicants.
No, definitely. So, Bridget, we don't just believe in giving financial assistance. We believe in the power of mentorship, which is what makes this program very unique. So what happens is we are going to onboard 60 young people from the 9 provinces to participate in a 3-month training program. And then they are then rated monthly depending on certain assignments that they are given. So through these ratings, then we determine 15 finalists who are then able to come to Johannesburg for an all expenses paid week with the Arts and Culture Trust. Through this week, they then get to prepare for 2 events that are under the Acting Aloha Scholarship Program. This is the exhibition event, which caters mainly for the visual and digital arts disciplines. And then we also have a gala event for the performing arts artists that are then finalists for a final production. These 2 events is where adjudication happens. So we invite industry giants and mentors to assist us in selecting the scholarship winners. So then we award 2 scholarships at the gala event. But also, Bridget, at this event, you know, yes, you just said 2 scholarships and that's what we award. However, we also make, means to bring other stakeholders into this program so that they're able to provide more opportunities. So over the last 3 years, we've worked with institutions such as Market Theatre Laboratory, Vuyani Dance Studio, Moving Into Dance, who have then offered other finalists training opportunities at their institutions. So we really try as best as possible to make this program holistic and really benefit a lot of our finalists and participants in the program.
Wonderful. So even if you don't ultimately go through the entire process, adjudication, ultimately get selected as one of the two, either in the performing or the visual and digital disciplines. There are 60 young people who go through 3 months of development, of mentorship, who really get the benefits of being part of the program. And of course, that very necessary exposure, as you've just said, Angelina, to, the respective stakeholders and friends of ACT, who then can also extend and open up some of their doors for these 60 young participants to further their development and their education in the various sectors. Talk to us about who's eligible here. I know it's between the ages of 17 and 25, but
Sure.
Is there anything else that's required?
Yes, definitely. So the program is targeting young people between 17 and 25 years old who are currently in grade 12 or have university exemption. So obviously we are also targeting youth within this demographic that need financial assistance to pursue a qualification in performing or visual arts, but this is as of 2026, so their studies must be commencing in 2026. So also we're also looking for youth that are not currently registered at a tertiary institution or accredited institution for the 2025 academic year. So you must only be starting next year, and also do not have an existing tertiary qualification in the arts or creative disciplines. So it's really for a young person who is looking to pursue this qualification in the creative or performing arts for the first time. So they mustn't be considered a professional artist, and they must be willing to commit to a 6-month duration of the program. We're also looking at young people who are South African citizens. So that is really our eligibility criteria for the program.
Just a final point of clarity, Angelina, as we wrap it up.
Sure.
Do the 60 cohort, they don't have to be based in Johannesburg. They can be based nationwide.
Correct. They can be based nationwide. So the training I spoke about happens online with the industry mentor. So they then connect from the various locations that they are in the provinces. But yes, this is a national program. They only come to Johannesburg once they've been selected as finalists, and ACT caters to all the costs around the participation in that week.
Wonderful stuff. Angelina Kimani, thank you so much for the time. And Angelina is the program coordinator at ACT, that is the Arts and Culture Trust. By the way, just a quick one, digital footprint, is it act.co.za? I can't remember.
.org.za.
.org.za. Fabulous.
Correct.
Alrighty, so that's where you go, act.org.za. They are an incredible organization, really one of the most prestigious and arguably, if I remember correctly, the oldest arts and culture trust in the country, powered by some really important foundation partners like Nedbank, who have a long-term commitment to the world of arts and culture. So if you're looking for that opportunity and you're between the ages of 17 and 25, act.org.za rather. Act.org.za is where you can go. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back on the other side.
It was all good just a week ago. Life was smooth. I was paying almost nothing for electricity tokens. All that changed when I was given a big fine for buying illegal electricity tokens from illegal vendors and my neighbor for tampering with his meter. Now, I might go to jail when all I had to do was register for free basic electricity at my local municipality since I'm unemployed. Ungathatha chance. Buy electricity legally. Report illegal electricity token sales in your area and meter tampering to Eskom on 0800 11 27 22.
The price of milk may be going up, but with Outsurance, you could be saving on your car insurance premiums. Like Irfan, who saves 411 Rand a month on his 2012 Ford Figo 1.4.
For a while, I've been looking for ways to save money, and within 10 minutes, I was signed up with him. I'm saving 411 Rand a month. Outsurance helping me save money.
Switch and save today. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
With Outsurance, when you look at it, it sounds too good to be true, but it's good. It's true.
Have you heard about the legendary Out bonus? After 3 consecutive years of not claiming, you'll get 10% of your paid premiums back in cash. Isn't it time you got something out of your insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
And a lot of your blame or concern centered around the media. Explain that.
Yeah, look, we have been documenting, all the, the media campaign to take him to jail and orchestrate it. And the court itself, the police, the investigators couldn't even formulate a charge. But the media now wants to take the responsibilities of the police and the investigators.
But I mean, isn't it? Aren't they two separate issues?
We need the media to change their professions and become detectives.
Hanif Hendricks, the leader of the party that the former mayor of Joburg belongs to, that's the Al Jamaa party.
You're listening to the National Pulse. Missed it? Find the podcast at safm.co.za. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
My next guest reminds me of that SABC star who I think passed on last year. He used to teach us maths and science on SABC TV at about 3-4. What was his name? His surname was Smith, but we can't remember his first name. Yes, remember that programming. William Smith. You see, this is what happens when you work with people who've been in this building for at least 20 years. They whisper in your ears. Mlungisi Nkosi is an award-winning educator and the founder of the Mlungisi Nkosi Maths and Science Center, which began in 2020 as a YouTube channel aimed at bridging educational gaps in underserviced communities. And literally, Aputi Mlungisi, it seems to me you are carrying on the baton of William Smith in this regard.
Good afternoon, Bridget, and thank you. He's actually my all-time favorite hero. William Smith has really done incredibly well for this country in just bridging the gap in terms of STEM education, and I'm happy to be associated with him in any shape or form. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to the listeners.
Thank you so much for the time. Listen, a lot of the people who make decisions at SAPC listen to SAFM. So hopefully, who knows? Who knows? You know what I mean? What was the inspiration for you? I know you're an educator by profession. And what inspired you to start off the YouTube channel?
So Bridget, in 2020, at the height of COVID, you remember very well that, education actually had come to a halt and, one had to jump in and try to bridge that gap, for underserved communities. Remember that as an educator myself, my own classroom had actually not been able to continue with teaching and learning. And in actual fact, I wanted to find an easier medium in which we could continue teaching and learning, and I wanted to share these lessons via WhatsApp, our class WhatsApp group, only to find that the files were so big and I ended up on YouTube. Oh, little did I know what a phenomenal actually opportunity that was for others to be able to access all of those lessons. And well, that's how I took on the baton of being the next generation William Smith.
I love it because also I think what this speaks to is, there's this generation of teachers that are thinking out of the box. Even the fact that you guys decided as a class with your students that you must have a WhatsApp group, where you can be in conversation and in support of each other. It's not because the bell has rung at 2:00, you are now on your own, or it's COVID and you are now on your own after that 1 hour of meeting. It just speaks to your thinking as an educator and your dedication as an educator to the success of your students.
Absolutely, Bridget, and I cannot emphasize that more. I always say that teaching is actually two things. it's the art and it's the heart, and that beyond just your ability to drive lessons and, your pedagogical approach and all of that, there needs to be that heart. And that heart is something that you carry with you that lives in the hearts and in the minds of your learners far beyond, when they have actually gone through to do other things. And that's why I think one has been blessed enough to keep a great relationship with most of my learners. I keep track of what they do, and they, now and then they come and inspire others as well, about their journey. So it's really something that is important for us to develop unconventional ways of educating learners, and to find ways in which we can connect them at their level, because ultimately that's how we are going to impact them.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick pause here so we're not disrupted by paying the bills, and then we'll come back on the other side and continue our conversation with this phenomenal teacher, Mr. Mlungisi Nkosi, whose focus is in, of course, maths and science.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
We love to help you, right? And we love to help you in all the languages when you send us WhatsApp messages. Please remind me to, or they're putting it on Google Translate. Someone just sent us an Afrikaans message. So we wanted to just throw it out there to you guys so that you can tell us what it is they require from us and we can facilitate. Right now, we are chatting to award-winning teacher Mlungisi Nkosi. He's an award-winning teacher focused on STEM, maths and science. And he's become quite the YouTube personality and phenomenon as well, ever since starting and opening up his YouTube channel in 2020 at the height of COVID to help his students whilst they were physically away from the classroom. But since then, it's become a fully fledged educational resource that's impacting tens of thousands of students with over 280 YouTube subscribers. That's over 250,000 YouTube subscribers. And of course, over 28 million views. That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. We talk a lot on this show about the importance of STEM, the importance of science and mathematics. But I think part of the conversation is also, as much as we can drive the importance of it, but how do you create the curiosity? And once you've created the curiosity, how do you keep the students engaged and ultimately then build that hunger for success?
Very important. You talk about curiosity. Firstly, I think we have not done well enough, to show the benefits of STEM, right? Now, of course, any country that means to do well in STEM, that seeks to do well in any, indicator by any stroke of imagination has to do well in STEM education. You can think about the Chinas of this world, the USA and so on. They take this STEM education quite seriously. So I think in there's this fear element that's really been associated with STEM education for so long. And we have to be honest, Bridget, that some of it has been instilled by, our history, our past, right? That certain people of a certain racial, profile cannot or are not supposed to be able to take on things like mathematics and so on. So we need to change this narrative. We've got this mammoth task that we have on our hands right now to ensure that we now begin to talk a different language. And it's important, I think, for me, the fact that our learners actually can see me on YouTube, putting myself out there, a person that looks just like them, perhaps for the most part of it, who's able to do STEM and does it well, right? It's important for them because then it says that this is possible. And so that's the message that we also want to it's a message of liberation, to be honest with you, Bridget. And one should not be one should not actually detach that element, from what one does. That we are going to have to do this from all sectors of society and ensure that we liberate not only just the black child, but the future of our nation to ensure that they can access STEM. So it's important to package it in a fun way, in an exciting way, to ensure that they can access it, at their level as well.
Yeah. Talk to us a bit about some of the, the challenges perhaps that are faced by learners in disadvantaged communities in accessing quality education. You talk to your learners on a one-on-one and they obviously share with you their personal circumstances and experiences and how that also impacts on their scholastic journeys.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest one, Bridget, I think one that at least I've been able to kind of assist a lot in is in helping them just realize, first of all, just the teaching of mathematics and science, right? Just to ensure that we create the right pool of educators. With the history in our country, we know that not too many people have the love for mathematics. In fact, if anything, there's this fear of mathematics and perhaps the sciences of this world, right? And as a result, we now need to ensure that we resource and capacitate educators enough to be able to stand confidently and teach in a non-intimidating way, because they also know that they are well-resourced, they are well-versed into the subject. So for me, I think that's the first one. But we also know that we live in quite a divided society, so resources are very few and far between. And so as a result, we need to ensure that we bridge the digital divide that is there in our country right now, and ensure that learners can be able to access resources outside of the classroom. The one thing that I love about our platform is that, it's almost like having a teacher in your pocket, right? And you can access it anywhere, anyhow. Anytime that you've got a problem, you can just access all of our lessons. And so for me, that really becomes important. And by the way, I found out, Bridget, since we started, that a lot of educators are now using our platform, and not only to capacitate themselves with the tools to present mathematics and science in a fun and very confidently so. Some of them even use our lessons even during the classroom. So I'm happy that the platform is able to impact others and really drive change in our country.
Absolutely. And a testament as well, I guess, to, sort of reaching the outcomes and that kind of impact that I think you would have envisaged in 2020 when you initiated the Maths and Science Center. And we touched a little bit about sort of innovative ways of reaching students where they are. What does this sort of speak to when we're talking immersive learning? In order to enhance academic performance?
What it means, Bridget, is that we need to come up with creative ways. In fact, as I speak to you right now, we've got this initiative that we've actually come up with, of packaging maths and science and taking it to the cinema, right? And we want to present lessons in an unconventional way, in a non-intimidating environment, in a fun and exciting way, right? In which learners can be able to access it. And so what it means is that you remove STEM from being just this rigid set of, subjects, and it's this thing that is inaccessible, that is kind of seen as elitist and so on, and to make sure that any person, when you think about the movies right now, you know that you can package lessons and still watch that at the movies. In fact, this concept came about because some of the learners, were doing TikTok videos and showing themselves watching my videos whilst eating popcorn. And I thought, well, why not? Why not go that direction, right? And still they were able to do well. And I thought to kind of package and present STEM in a non-intimidating way, let's just embark on this, audacious, approach and see where that takes us. And I think for me, it's important. And by the way, just to talk about it, Bridget, because we are packaging it for grade 11, I think a lot of resources are channeled towards grade 12. And in my opinion, it's a little too late, for you to be able to drive change. So we wanted to come up with this initiative to make sure that we impact people at grade 11. And of course, we'll scale down to even the other grades as time continues.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, 70% of the content in grade 11, in grade 12 rather, is actually grade 11 content.
Absolutely.
When you think about university applications, they are actually open from grade 11 for people who want to go into medical sciences, which is really quite there's limited opportunities there, to be able to access schools in medicine in this country. So they need to be able to do well in grade 11. So we want to make sure that we use these initiatives to drive change and ensure that learners can be able to be aware, first of all, of the critical nature of grade 11, that they don't wake up too late and realize that, the bus has already left.
Absolutely. Mr. Mlungisi Nkosi, every time I speak to teachers, I think of myself as a student, and I'm never quite sure how to address you as Mr. Nkosi or Mlungisi. But
Mlungisi is just fine.
It's been the most enlightening conversation, and we really appreciate the work that you're doing. May it continue to expand and grow and touch many learners, not just in South Africa, but SADC continentally, because mathematics and science are a universal language, and who knows, to the ears that are listening as well, perhaps we can find a way of bringing you into our programming here. That was Mlungisi Nkosi, an award-winning educator and YouTube personality, and of course he focuses on maths and science, all the STEMs. Dineo Mutawung is coming up with the news.
Thank you, Bridget. Top stories: petrol price relief on the cards and DFF Gauteng to march against water cuts. A very good afternoon. Motorists can look forward to a marginal relief at the pumps, with fuel prices broadly set to decrease in March. According to the Central Energy Fund, the price of 95 unleaded is expected to decrease by 6 cents a litre, while 93 unleaded petrol is set to increase by the same amount. The price of diesel is also anticipated to decrease by 16 cents per litre. The Department of Mineral Resources and Petroleum will release the official fuel prices coming into effect on Wednesday this week. National Police Commissioner Bridget Masinga says South Africa is facing a serious challenge when it comes to transnational organized crime. He says he hopes the development of a strategic plan to curb such crimes will be successful. Masinga has been speaking at the Transnational Organized Crime Strategy Planning session underway in Pretoria.
Main problem for South Africa transnational crime is especially theft of vehicles, especially 4x4s, SUVs, out of this country to North Africa. The problem of drugs and drug precursors coming from outside the country into South Africa, and also our financial inflows.
In other news, Operation Dudula has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Professionals Unity of South Africa, PROFSA, to assist them with legal battles. The group says the collaboration will help them with legal representation, including taking President Cyril Ramaphosa to court over the death of children who died after consuming products bought from foreign-owned spaza shops. Operation Dudula President Zandile Dabula.
We're going to be very strict on how we operate. I mean, every time we've always said that we are operating in the confines of the law because we didn't want to find ourselves on the wrong side of the law. But mind you, we have profs that it's also going to keep guiding us on how to do this. We are going to take people to account. We're going to be in and out of court.
Members of the EFF in Gauteng will march to Johannesburg water offices in the CBD today to protest against water cuts across the city. This as residents of Phumla-Nqashi informal settlement near Lenasia south of Johannesburg take to the streets in protest of being without water for several days. EFF Gauteng chairperson Kuleko Dunga says it is unconstitutional for residents to be without this essential commodity.
They're actually removing water meters and therefore creating no access to water supply within those communities and households. And that's an unconstitutional act which is in direct violation of the human rights. So we're calling on them to actually stop that part.
We move to KZN now, where residents of Quarry Road at Springfield in Durban are threatening to take legal action against the eThekwini municipality for what they call failed provision of crucial services. They are accusing the city of failing to maintain its water drainage infrastructure and sewer pipes. Residents claim the poor maintenance resulted in flooding during yesterday's heavy rains. Business owner and local resident Logan Naidu.
The municipality is dumping sewer that's blocking the stormwaters, and the sewer water is going into Amgeni River and thereafter into Blue Lagoon, where people are swimming there and the canoe people are all over there. Now, we have complained numerous times to the municipality from 2021. They even sent us an email indicating that the municipality is refusing to comply. They're going to open a criminal case. From 2021, they have done nothing about it. Every time there's rain here, we are getting flooded. We are suffering damages in our businesses. I'm running 4 businesses over here.
Lastly, a man who was attempting to row 12,000 kilometers single-handed across the Pacific has been rescued by the Australian Navy after spending nearly 6 months at sea. The Lithuanian man was rescued as Tropical Cyclone Alfred made for dangerous ocean conditions. Cyclone Alfred is forecast to bring damaging waves and strong winds as it moves towards the Queensland coast later this week. The BBC's Phil Messer has the details.
Aramis Mokas activated his emergency beacon on Friday. He had to endure 3 nights in tempestuous seas before he was rescued by the Australian Navy. Aerial photos had showed his modified rowing boat at the mercy of the dark ocean as a cyclone off eastern Australia intensified. The Lithuanian rower was just days from completing his epic solo voyage across the Pacific from San Diego to Brisbane.
Recapping the top story this hour, motorists can look forward to a marginal relief at the pumps with fuel prices broadly set to decrease in March. For SFM News, I'm Dinomo Daung. The next update is at 2:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
It's time to shine for young athletes across South Africa. From thrilling football and rugby matches to intense netball games. Experience the passion and prowess of Mzansi's finest young sports stars. Super Sports Schools and SABC Plus bring you the specially curated channel dedicated entirely to school and youth sports. Join us as we celebrate their achievements and bring the excitement right to your screens. This is your chance to support the future of South African sports. The Super Sports Schools channel on SABC Plus, where every game is a home game. Don't miss a moment. Download the SABC Plus app today. Available on iOS, Google, and Smart TV. Or visit sabc-plus.com to start streaming. Super Sports Schools on SABC Plus. All the sport you care about most. Now streaming wherever you are.
Whether we are at the workplace, within communities, at school, or with our friends and family, we all need to demonstrate the kind of responsibility that we would like to see in our country's future. SFM commemorates Human Rights Month. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
Angie Stone. Oh, Angie Stone. Angie Stone. I wish I didn't miss you. And she passed away. She passed away over the weekend, unfortunately, via a horrific car accident. In a 16 or 18-wheeler truck ran into her car, and I think she was coming back from a show because she was performing over the weekend. There's videos online of her being at a show the night before, and she passed away at age 63. And this is one of the songs that folks really loved from Angie Stone. I Wish I Didn't Miss You. It was released back in 2001 from the album Mahogany Soul. And she actually received her first of 3 Grammy nominations for the album More Than a Woman, but she's never actually won a Grammy Award. It's not surprising, really, when you think about all the controversial conversations that happen around Grammy Awards and who gets to win them in which categories. Are oftentimes the categories where black R&B artists would win awards. She's also appeared in several movies and TV shows, and I did not know this about Angie Stone, and I found out just this morning, in fact, that she actually wrote and sang the theme song for one of the longest running, most successful urban TV series, Girlfriends. She wrote and performed that theme song, and it sounds absolutely nothing like her. But then when you find out that it is her and then you listen to it again, then you're like, aha, I can hear it. That was Angie Stone. That is how we kick off our 2 o'clock hour. All right, so we're going to get into a conversation now that's focused more around careers. It's Career Monday after all. And we're looking at the future of innovation, which apparently lies with Gen Z in your workplace. And the question is your workplace ready? Are you ready for the influx of Gen Z? I don't know if you are, but we are going to be catching up with Lindy van den Bosselaar, and I hope I got that right, Lindy, who is the MD of Manpower Group South Africa. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. And you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you very much. So it is predicted, or it was predicted, that by 2023, 1/3 of the global workforce will be made up of Gen Zs, and those are those born between 1996 and 2012.
That's correct, and it's 2030, not 2023. That's past us already.
By 2030. Yes. Oh, okay. I was wondering. Okay, so by 2030, so in the next 5 years, 1/3 of the global workforce will be made up of Gen Z. I mean, kind of makes sense, right? Because they
Absolutely.
are in that working demographic right now.
Exactly, 100% true. So what are we going to be doing to make sure that we're ready for this generation, that we're preparing them for 2020, preparing companies for 2030?
Yeah, and I think the one of the most important part of what you've just asked is a lot of folks who, if you engage the sort of intergenerational conversation and you follow it on social media and you follow it in your private circles, and we've surely spoken about it on this show, there's a lot of criticism that's also leveled on Gen Zs and how ready are they to enter the professional space.
I think the difference between, I'm being the older generation, the difference between the Gen Z is that they're not the old workforce type that you have a job for life, you work from 8 to 5 every day, there's no break, you give your all to work. They're a totally different generation looking for a totally different type of work, and we have to embrace that. I mean, they are looking for flexible work opportunities, whether that be in the form of remote work. They want less stress. They want to be able to have access to whether in terms of their mental health and their well-being, they want access to things that are going to support them in that. And a big thing is that they want continuous uplifting and upskilling. They're a totally different generation. And I think it also depends on the leaders that work in these organizations, because in our organization, my colleague and I, fortunately, are very much about innovation and upskilling and things like that. So those type of individuals in our workforce work really well, because it's not that they're driving us, we're driving them as well. And I guess it's just from organization to organization, it's just going to depend where the leaders are and how they buy into this, because this is the generation of the future. And we need to make sure that we're providing for their needs. And if you look at it from a remote work or flexibility point of view, our business, and I'm going to talk from our business point of view, and hopefully it helps other businesses out there, is that we're all about output.
Yeah.
If you do your job in 4 hours and you're delivering what you expected of you, I have no issue. I'm not going to monitor someone and make sure that they're at their desk from 8 to 5 every single day. You give me you work and you give me what I need from you, I have no issues. But if you're not giving me what I need, then I'm going to have a problem, and then I'm going to send you back to the office and things like that. So it's managing each individual as individuals, giving them that flexibility and the rope to do what they want to do, and then managing them accordingly. So it's exciting, because I think it brings a whole new dimension to the workforce, because they are innovative. They want access to new things. As an example, AI. We're all talking about AI. Now, we had towards the end of last year, and we're planning the program for this year, we had every single individual in our organization, from the admin staff all the way up to the directors, went on an AI course. And the organization has totally embraced it. And it's not only the Gen Z driving the older generation, we're driving them as well. And I mean, and they're coming back and saying, but we want more. We want more. So it's just going along with them and making sure that you're providing them with what they need, but at the same time you're upskilling. We talk about upskilling, constant upskilling. We're not only upskilling them, we're upskilling ourselves.
Absolutely. You know what I always find interesting, and like I said, we're preoccupied as a millennial, as a midway millennial by age, but right at the beginning of millennialness, we are very occupied with how to sort of navigate ourselves around Gen Zs. And I guess because Gen Zs are the representation of just the dynamism of the world and how swiftly and fast the world is changing, its agility, and they are the real embodiment of that in real time. But I also think that we have these discussions about how do we prep for Gen Z, and how do we prep for Gen Z, and how does Gen Z prep for the workforce, when ultimately we should have a handle on this now, because technically we now should be preparing for, Gen Alpha, who are in that schooling stage, going in the next 10 years will be the next generation to enter the workforce, and Gen Beta that comes after them that are yet to be born. So Gen Z by now really should have given us the blueprint of what we need to do for this, this generation of techno kids.
Absolutely, because the Gen Zs are going to be who we are to the generations that come after them. So I think we have to embrace it, and we need to make sure that we are giving them what they need in terms of continuous upskilling, continuous learning, flexible work arrangements, innovation, allowing them to be innovative, work-life balance, all of that. But I think, and again, I'll talk from our business perspective, this has happened naturally as a result of COVID.
Yeah.
We went into a situation where we had to give people responsibility to be able to work remotely. And our organization has not gone back to the office full time. We actually only go back once a week, and it involves a lot of trust. But it works because why must I make an individual sit in the traffic for an hour or 2 hours every day one way when they could be using that time to perhaps, because they want this work-life balance and a healthy work life, go and do an opportunity to go and exercise and then go into the desks and go and do some work. So I think organizations should have really embraced this because of what happened with COVID. And then in terms of technology, if you're not staying ahead of the game, it doesn't matter how old you are, and it really is true. And I find it exciting. I'm an individual that I get bored very easily. So I like to be challenged. I like to be challenged all the time. So for me, man, bringing these Gen Zs into our organization has been a natural process, and because we've all bought into it.
Yeah.
So if we don't, and for the organizations that are different to ours, and there are many organizations that are a lot bigger and a lot different to ours, if we don't, you're not going to keep those people.
Absolutely.
You're not going to keep, and your business is not going to stay relevant, and they're going to leave. And I also take the view that even if we invest in all of these individuals and they still decide that they're going to move on to other opportunities, well, then we've been part of their development. And we can only wish them well, and that we've created a being that will go and fit better into another organization.
Absolutely.
But I don't think I think this is a process that's happened naturally. And that we've all bought into it, and wherever we can, we just give them what they need, because why don't we as leaders also need that? We also want work-life balance. We also want to be able to have mental health and well-being opportunities and things like that, and continue. In our business, we've created a culture of continuous learning.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as a qualification for life. That's gone, and it's got to. Sorry.
No, I was just going to add, Lindy, that, and the truth of the matter is, with each generation that has come, whether you're talking Gen X, whether you're talking millennials, Gen Zs, with each generation that's come, there's been a disruption within the professional system, because the needs of a Gen X were very varying from the needs of a millennial, and millennials came with their own sort of demands, their own consciousness, their own awakening, and so forth and so on. So there should be this thing with organizations that with each shift of each generation, ultimately there's going to be a disruption.
But it should be natural. It should just be a natural consequence of what's actually happening out there, because you've got to stay relevant. So you get on the bus, or you're going to be left behind. So it's just as you said, every age group we've had to manage and adapt. But and I look at it from our point of view, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Because it brings new challenges, it brings new opportunities, and why not go with it? Because otherwise you're going to get left behind. So Gen Z has brought through their challenge, which I think has happened as a natural consequence of being in lockdown and having opportunities to work hybrid work models, or work from home completely. Yeah. And the next generation is going to bring with it something completely different, because we don't know what's around the corner. But embrace it. Embrace it with your team, and the journey is not going to be hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, people talk about, the Gen Z being mentors. It's like being reverse mentors to the older generation, but it doesn't have to be like that. Let's be we learn together. Be co-learners as opposed to reverse mentors and things like that. So I think it's just every generation brings with this opportunities rather than challenges.
Absolutely.
And we must just embrace it.
And of course, we also speak about the fact that, this generation, perhaps more than other generations, have a heightened sense of inclusion, right? They sort of have more of a heightened sense of values that are important to them, personal values that are important to them, that they impose on professional spaces. And I find that quite refreshing about them, because oftentimes when we talk work-life balance, we just talk from the perspective of, time management, but they really are looking at it from the truest core of humanity's values, things like diversity, equity, inclusion. These things matter to them.
100%. And if your business is not aligned, and I mean, they will ask you, if you interview these people and you bring them into your organization, that's going to be a top of mind for them.
Yeah.
They're going to ask you what are your inclusion policies? What are your flexibility policies? They're going to ask that. And money is important to everyone. Let's not negate that. But at the end of the line, it's about the whole package. It's what is your culture like? What do you offer in terms of remote working? What do you have in our business, mental health is very important because we're all under a lot of stress. So we give our staff 1 day a year to themselves. And then I have to make sure that those people actually take that time, because we've given it to them and they're still online. But you know what? You've given them the opportunity to do that. And I'm very open with my team in terms of work-life balance, because I want to be able to be available and fresh for them to lead them forward. But if I'm not taking care of my own needs, I'm not going to be able to do that. So work-life balance for me is important. And there's times when all of us in any organization, we're going to have to put in those extra hours. But I tell my team, but that's got to be the exception, not the norm. And as leaders, we also need to make sure that we're conscious of what we're doing, because if I go online late at night and start sending emails, then I create the expectation that maybe the staff think that they need to respond at that time now. So maybe I must just hold back and don't send that email until tomorrow, because nothing's going to happen until tomorrow. So as leaders, we also got to be conscious of the fact that, you said that we're a balanced organization, work-life balance is important, but you're sending us emails at 10 o'clock at night. Be aware of that. It's true. That's what they'll say to you.
Yeah.
And they'll challenge you. And that's what I expect. I want them to challenge you. I want to feel them, that you're creating that environment of psychological safety where they must challenge me and say, but Lindy, you said it's work-life balance, but you're sending me an email at 10 o'clock. I want them to challenge me.
Yeah.
Because that puts me back, it puts me on the right path as well. Think twice before I do things late at night.
It's so interesting that you bring up the email, right? Because I know, for instance, my best friend who runs a rather successful agency, a successful global agency, last year decided to put as part of the sort of tag at the bottom of his signature a little caveat to say, just to speak to the work-life balance, and the caveat exactly speaks to that, to say, just because you're receiving my email at this point in time and it's a priority of communication that I had to send to you, doesn't mean that I'm asking you to respond. Obviously, he's put it in professional language. Doesn't mean that I expect you to respond in the immediate. Please, like if you are having quiet time, family time, solitude time, and he goes on to list, please take the time to yourself and respond at your convenience, but understanding the urgency of the matter. So you don't have to respond to me now at midnight.
But we've got that in our signatures as well. But sometimes you'll into staff will see you online and say, "Oh no, she's online. She's expected." So we do. I think it's more, although it's out there for all of us, it's probably more our clients that to be saying, "No, don't respond to us." But we don't want the team. So don't create that habit that you're online late every night, because that's not sending the message of work-life balance.
Yeah.
And you've got to lead by example. So as I said, it's got to be the exception rather than the norm, that you're online late at night. So I think it's exciting times, and I look forward to what the next if I'm still around, what the next generation brings with this, because as much as they're growing, I'm growing too.
Yeah, well, listen, it's going to be exciting with the next generation, because like we were saying, Gen Alphas that are born in 2013, and this is the last year of Gen Alphas before Gen Beta takes over at the end of the year. Gen Alphas are basically the children of millennials and Gen Zs, so it's an interesting combination of child, and they are
sounds like we're getting older and older.
You know what I mean? And they are the children who literally are born on social media and their entire lives being documented,
Exactly.
and so it's going to be interesting how they turn out to be. And let's not even talk about Gen Beta, who are likely going to be
let's not.
the children of the future. But Lindy, thank you so much for the time. It's been a pleasure. That was Lindy Funden Barcelar, MD of Manpower Group South Africa. We actually need to have that conversation one of these days, because I'm quite fascinated by the different generations, especially Gen Alpha and Gen Beta. But we'll have that conversation. Let's actually just jump to one voice note from our earlier conversation around that report that came from the World Bank on transportation.
It works very well in a lot of European countries. There's one thing they don't have, and that is taxi bosses. Taxi bosses do not want us to work in our country.
Yeah, that taxi conversation is an interesting conversation, right? Whilst we understand the gap that they fill, not just in South Africa, but it's a African continent phenomenon, transport phenomenon, and they fill a very necessary gap in community and society. But there needs to be a come to the table conversation with the various taxi industries and the Ministry of Transport and just broader government and all the various stakeholders to see how we best sort of conduct that business and how we best incorporate other elements of transport business so that we're not snuffing out the taxi industry, but we're also giving commuters just options and affordable options as well, and safe options for commuters without snuffing the taxi industry. I know there's a lot of taxi owners and bosses who listen to me. I get messages from you guys today. Dineo standing by with the news. Thank you very much, Bridget. Good afternoon. Let's take a look at the headlines at 2:30. All three accused in the case of missing Jocelyn Smith have pleaded not guilty to all the charges they are facing in connection with the child's disappearance. In other news, motorists can look forward to a marginal relief at the pumps with fuel prices broadly set to decrease in March. And Britain and France are working on a European-led solution to the war in Ukraine after a summit in London. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Equality, human dignity, freedom of movement and residence. Life. Everyone has the right to life. Human Rights Month on SAFM. This program is brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
My name is Lorraine Moyo. I am very good at my spelling. So we have this thing in English where every single Tuesday, you write a spelling test. And I usually get, let's say, 9 or 10 out of 10. So I am very good. I'm excellent at my spelling. If I were to improve my marks from a 9 to 10, I would study a lot more, like in the afternoons, in the evenings, and then the next day when I'm at school, I just scan through to make sure that I know everything. And in grade 7, just know you have very hard spelling words to learn. They are very certain activities that I do to help with my spelling. Like, I give my mom my spelling words and then she asks me the questions and I will have to write down the spelling and then she will mark my spelling test. And if I get a lower mark, I will write the test again that my mom has to do and I will hopefully get a better mark that time. As of now, I don't need any help with my spelling because I'm a very good speller. But anyways, thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you guys. Bye.
My name and surname is Pyogeshan Tembe. In spelling, I am an average. Some words I can spell correctly, but some are difficult for me, and I struggle with spelling them correctly. My mom offered me an opportunity to improve my spelling. I practice reading and writing words multiple times each day, and I use these words to make sentences. I also look up and find words in the dictionary to find their meaning and spelling. With everything I do to practice my spelling and improve spelling, I can feel that it is working because I am better. I couldn't spell most words. Now I have improved. I also play the game WoW and on my phone because it is a crossword puzzle of spelling. I am happy my mom helps me improve my spelling. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Dureta Ndlovu and I go to Macaulay House School. Out of 10, I would say that I am 7 out of 10 good with spelling. At my school, our English teacher usually gives us 20 spelling words to go home, find the meaning, and learn the meaning of the words. That is a very helpful way for me to learn my words. We also have a book that we read, and if there are words that we don't understand, we look for the meanings in our dictionaries. Those two are part of the activities that help me learn spelling better. For me, being tested at school and at home would be a very helpful way for me to memorize words forever.
Hello, my name is Patamachet. I improve my spelling by learning new words and expanding my vocabulary. Yes, there are activities that I feel help me with some of my spelling. Reading advanced books with a more advanced vocabulary also helps me.
My name is Asanda Chavalala. I'm 11 years old from Ekoli. Yes, spelling words correctly matters to me. When I'm given a spelling test, I get all the spelling words right. That's how good I am at spelling. I started to learn how to spell when I was in grade 1. My teachers and parents helped me with spelling correctly. I practice spelling with my mom. Yes, I do think not being able to spell words correctly will work against me in my schoolwork, because when I have a spelling test, I will not be able to spell and I'll fail my test.
Yes, spelling words correctly does matter to me. I would say I'm excellent at spelling words. I started learning how to spell words in grade 1. My parents helped me. Yes, it's an online activity. Yes, as in some tests, spelling does count for a mark. So spelling words incorrectly can make you lose marks. To be able to use good grammar and no spelling errors.
Hi friends! Learning how to spell words is like embarking on an exciting adventure with letters. Here are some cool ways to make this journey fun and effective. Word games. Turn spelling into games. Scrabble, Bogle, or online word puzzles are like playful challenges that help you memorize and recognize how words are spelled. Rhyming. Finding words that rhyme is like having a musical memory aid. It helps you remember the spelling patterns in a fun and rhythmic way. Mnemonics. Creating little memory tricks is like having secret codes for words. Associate tricky spellings with something you find memorable. Visualization. Picture the words in your mind. It's like creating mental images that help you remember the sequence of letters. Imagine the word as a colorful picture, and spelling becomes a visual adventure. Writing practice. The more you write, the better you get. It's like having a spelling workout. Write sentences, short stories, or even your own spelling lists. It helps your brain remember the patterns. Break it down. Dividing words into smaller parts is like having a secret code-breaking mission. Focus on syllables or common prefixes and suffixes. It makes big words feel less intimidating. Flashcards. Using flashcards is like having your personal spelling assistant. Write the word on one side and the correct spelling on the other. It's a bit like a mini pop quiz that helps reinforce your memory. Technology apps. There are cool apps designed for learning spelling. It's like having a spelling wizard in your pocket, guiding you through interactive exercises and games. Spelling bees. Participating in spelling bees is like entering a spelling championship. It's a bit like showcasing your spelling skills and competing in a friendly environment. Remember, everyone learns differently, so try out different methods and find what works best for you.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
Meet TJ, the magician. Well, he isn't quite the magician, but shame, let's call him that. The other day he tried to do that coin ear trick. Poor Owami is still in the hospital with a 5 rand coin stuck in his ear. He tried getting his pit bull, Mufasa, to levitate. Oh, he got that right. But now Mufasa is levitating through Tembisa, and somehow TJ forgot to read the section on how to get Mufasa back down. It's tough. being a magician. But luckily for TJ, Britain's Got Talent Ultimate Magician will be the perfect inspiration for him to be the best magician in Tembisa. Catch Britain's Got Talent Ultimate Magician Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It has just gone 20 to 3 o'clock. We are in the final stretch of the show. We're going to catch up with Zoe Mfogazi, who is the head of operations at the TransUnion Global Capacity Center. And we're looking at internships versus learnerships as a way of solving South Africa's youth unemployment by closing that experience gap. How are you doing this afternoon, Zoe?
Very well, thanks, Bridget. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. So we know that obviously, where does the stats stand? Like 44.6% of individuals aged 15 to 34 are currently unemployed, which is alarming, right? Those sort of unemployment figures, because that's almost half of our very young population, would at least in a large majority of South African youth. And these stats often speak to the challenges that we face. And one of those challenges is limited work experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it definitely speaks to that. That young people have very limited access to opportunities because they do not have the required work experience, nor do, in most cases, they do not have the qualification. In an internship environment, though, they will have a qualification, university qualification, but when they apply for a job, they are required to have 10 years of experience, whereas they spent the past 5 years, earning a degree. And in a learnership, in most cases, it's young people that come straight out of matric. They do not have the opportunity to study further, even doing short skill courses. And when they get into a working environment, they are required to have a working experience. So that gap is the working experience and formal qualifications. So what we do at TransUnion Global Capability Center is to try and close that gap by implementing learnership programs that speak to skills that are in demand. We've got customer service in a contact center learnerships. We've got data analytics learnerships. We've got business administration learnerships, cybersecurity learnerships, and these learnerships are aimed to, one, provide the young people with the formal qualification at the end of the program, which is NQM5, NQF4, and at the end of the program, they'll also have, their CV that shows that they've actually worked in a professional environment, and so that really helps them. If we don't absorb them in our learnership program, they've got a leg up. They are definitely in a better position. They are more marketable. They've got a CV that says, I've performed these duties, and I have, these are the outputs of the program, and this is the duties that I have performed. They align to the program. So we're not going to take a person who's done a data analytics learnership program and put them in a contact center. We make sure that we put them in a role where they apply their learnings.
And considering that the sort of work environment always makes these almost outlandish demands on experience for new graduates, does the program also address sort of the length of learnership for them in order for it to have sort of or reflect that sustainability of experience? Because we speak about internships, often just a couple of months here and there. So it's not anything substantial for a prospective employer, perhaps, who's looking at you and thinking, well, do you have that experience to come into my organization?
Yeah, certainly. Our learnerships are a minimum of 12 months. The first 2 to 3 months are spent in class. So where they do, with these learners, they actually do the theoretical element of the program. So they do their POE, which is a portfolio of evidence. They do assessments, they get assessed. And when they hit the ground, in the workspace, and once we allocate them, they actually work for the remainder of that learnership. The longest that we have right now is the cybersecurity, which is an 18 months program because of the intensity of the theoretical part and having to write international certifications. But generally, our learnerships are 12 to 15 months. The first few months, they are spent in class, and then the remainder they spend in the business doing their work. So on their CV, they will show that I've done a 12-month learnership program, and 9 months of that program, I was actually working. So I've got 12 months altogether, because even the POE in class, they do practical work readiness, simulations. So they are set up to be ready for work even before entering the work environment.
Yeah. You've partnered up with Harambe on this initiative, yeah?
Yes, the cybersecurity learnership specifically, we partnered with Harambe, and we were able to get some funding from the USAID because of this international certification that needed to be written, the cybersecurity certification. Harambe was really instrumental in bringing us together with another service provider who focuses on creating employment opportunities for youth with disabilities. And the cybersecurity program specifically, it was 10 learners, and all of them with with disabilities. And again, it was really, to create that inclusive and to give, working opportunity and learning and earning opportunity to young people that would generally be excluded, not only because they don't have experience, but also the limitations that they may experience because of certain disabilities. So because also our environment is a virtual environment, it makes it easier for them to be able to integrate into work environment. No travel is required. They are set up, they are given all the equipment they need from the time they start training. They basically, work in a virtual environment. They've got, global, they get global experience at the end of the program because we support, all the global regions, within TransUnion. So it really just gives them such a, great opportunity. So yes, we also continue to partner with Harambe by using their platform, SA Youth, for sourcing for our ongoing learnership programs.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier on just, the importance for you guys in aligning the right kind of learnership and training with the right kind of area of focus for the individual. And I think maybe perhaps let's just harp on that a little bit, even for just prospective school leavers or tertiary graduates who are sitting at home listening to this conversation, because people have and rightfully so, given the circumstances, there is that urgency and desperation to get a job or get an internship, get a learnership. Something to keep me busy, something to put on my CV, something to create a professional profile. But how important is it to ensure that it aligns? The internship, the learnership that you do also aligns to either your qualification or aligns with your area of focus and interest.
Yeah. So I think with the learnership, it's also difficult to say it must align to a particular personal preference, because there's also limited opportunities for these learnerships. But what I would recommend is take a learnership, at least, even though there must be something that you enjoy. So you can't go take a learnership in a cybersecurity environment and you have no interest in a technical space. But also you must look at a learnership as a, your entry into a career. I started my learnership in a contact center as, contact center agent. And so I also, worked my way through into where I am with my career because actually a door was opened, through a learnership. So it's also, it's a door that gets opened for you to be able to actually really figure out where your career is going to lead. We have an HRBP in our environment who was recently appointed as an HRBP from being an HR administrator. She started the learnership program in a contact center learnership program, but she has now, taken the career path that, leads her to a purpose. So it's not always going to be possible that you get the one that you prefer, but I always encourage young people to take the opportunity, take that leap of faith and see where it takes you. And also when graduates, I know that they would have studied a certain qualification, and they're not necessarily getting an opportunity for that particular qualification. they mustn't also discard opportunities that come up that are not necessarily aligned. I think it's really about being teachable. Yeah, you need to be a person that's teachable. You need to be a person that really just willing to learn and willing to, give everything you can in that particular time, in that particular environment. And you never know who's going to notice.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot of success stories of young people that started in a contact center learnership. Now they are in fraud investigations. They are, specialized roles, only because they took that opportunity, even though it didn't look like, the dream job at the time.
Wonderful. I mean, listen, great advice. Great advice indeed. Zoe, we appreciate the time with you. That was Zoe Mfogazi, Head of Operations at TransUnion Global Capacity Center Africa. It's gone 10 past 2 o'clock. We're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to come back and wrap up the show.
Okay, Lhasa, we are recording 3, 2, 1, go.
A cold case is opened 39 years later after the body of a young man is discovered in a derelict building. There are 4 suspects. Suspect 1, a clergyman. Suspect 2, an eminent entrepreneur.
I really, those people are always shady.
Suspect 3, a community worker.
Hey, what are you saying?
And suspect 4, a wheelchair-bound husband caring for his wife.
Hey, and Nevele, you can't.
Each has a secret to hide. As their lies unravel, the people that they love the most begin to wonder what else they might be capable of. Nothing in this case is black and white. Can you ever really know the people closest to you? What secrets have they buried? Tune into Unforgotten Season 1, Monday to Wednesday at 9 p.m. Starts 24 February only on S3. Tabo, don't tell me that the script freaked you out. Where are you?
Hi everyone, I'm Dean McPherson, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. In the State of the Nation reply, I announced that we're releasing 31 state-owned properties for redevelopment that will generate 10 billion rand in investment and create 165,000 new jobs. These public-private partnerships will help us realize our dream to turn South Africa into a construction site. To achieve this, the department in 2025 will be leveraging reforms in infrastructure development through Infrastructure South Africa, release requests for proposals to redevelop our small harbours, which will create tens of thousands of new jobs, as well as reforming the expanded public works program to ensure it becomes a genuine stepping stone to permanent employment. We are accelerating efforts to get more cranes in the sky and more shovels in the ground. Our department is working for you and with you to build a better South Africa for the future.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we were trying to get a hold of our last guest, but I think phone lines are disrupting us right now. I did see the breaking news, though. It seems like Kubek is down unexpectedly, so I don't know if that means that we might anticipate a load reductioning announcement for today into maybe a day or two. I don't know, but I just saw it now on SABC News that Kubik is down unexpectedly. I don't know what has brought it down. But hey, gone are the days of coal. Remember when it used to rain? The minute it rained for longer than 2 days, and you're just like, oh my gosh. Like literally, your heart would sink to the pit of your stomach because you just knew that there's going to be load shedding forever. But yeah, gone are those days. Even with our bout of load shedding that we had a week and a bit ago, at least we have some sense of stability at the moment. But I don't know what this will mean, whether it will mean that we get into some kind of low load shedding stage, or maybe it doesn't affect anything at all. Maybe there's enough reserves to keep us going until they figure out what the problem is there. But I'm sure for the rest of the afternoon, my colleagues to come, Ashraf and everyone, are going to keep you abreast on those particular developments. Let's rewind back to WhatsApp on some of our earlier conversations. 0614104107 is our WhatsApp line. And it seems as though the conversation around that World Bank report on how low-income workers spend about 51% of their net wage on transport has elicited a lot of opinion from you guys, and we always love that. Indeed, we always do. So let's rewind back to that. Let's go to WhatsApp and see what's on your mind.
You see, when in the suburb, white people will build the boom gates, and we were against you saying they're segregating blacks. When you cross there, they ask, where are you going? But because of high level of crime, black people are building the boom gates in their suburbs and township to control the movement because of high crime. It's tough. Secondly, you want to integrate people like in the most Cosmo in Midrand, where you have high class, low class, and the RDP houses together. But I'm telling you, where I stay in the suburb, there is an open space there. They build RDP houses. Their gates were supposed to be on the other side of the road, not the main road on their back, but they opened the gates there. They even walk past there. I'm telling you, weekends, Friday night to Monday night, music, competition of radios, playing music loud all night long. Kids can't even study on the weekends. Now you can understand why people were supposed to be segregated and stay according to their income and their lifestyle. It's tough.
Hi, this is Chris. Just a thought. One of the previous governments gave tax incentives to the big companies to open head offices and factories on the countryside or on the periphery of your bigger urban areas. And that creates a situation where people would be closer to work and also help the countryside develop, which would stop people flocking to the cities and go to already overcrowded networks. So that might be an idea to SARS as well and government.
Yeah, listen, Chris, at this point in time, I think all ideas can be laid on the table, hey? All ideas can be laid on the table to try and address this issue of historic spatial segregation and demarcation, particularly as it pertains to just urban migration for the purpose of working, right? Because people do need to be closer to their workplaces. What is closer? I mean, that's also another sort of relative question of what do you deem closer? I don't know if I'm in agreement with our previous voice note that says that, given how people sort of socialize, just because some folks make noise and it seems as though it's within certain demographics, then they can't coexist with affluent people because affluent people are quieter. No, I don't think it's got anything to do with affluence. It's probably just got to do with us enforcing certain behaviors in our environments, and that becomes a social and cultural conversation. How do we enforce certain behaviors in various communities, our communities, you know what I mean? And that can be said even around things like littering. We have this conversation all the time, littering. Why is it in certain communities that they seem to be, there's a consciousness not to litter, there's an awareness not to litter, and in some other spaces there's a disregard and a carelessness around it. It's not to say that everybody is littering and untidy. It's just to say that there's nobody that's really enforcing, to say, we must behave that way. So, but I don't think that segregating our living environments because of how much you earn and how much I earn is a way forward. It might actually take us a bit backwards. There are communities that are doing integrated living quite well. In fact, if you just go past Dainfern, Riverside in Joburg, they've got integrated income communities, and it's a beautiful neighborhood. And it's a beautiful neighborhood, and I think it also speaks to that people being conscious of what kind of community they want to build for themselves and their children, and so they enforce particular behaviors and particular responsibilities, and the neighborhood works just fine, you know. And those kinds of examples are around worldwide. That's where we leave it today. Ashraf is coming through for the rest of the afternoon. He's going to keep you company on the National Pulse. I'm sure lots of conversations to be had there. And from myself and my team, we thank you so much for choosing to be in conversation with us. We'll see you tomorrow. Inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg.
Top stories: Jocelyn Smith's disappearance trial begins, and Britain and France working on Ukraine's solution. With the news, I'm Dino Motaung. Good afternoon. All three accused in the case of missing Jocelyn Smith have pleaded not guilty to all the charges they are facing in connection with the child's disappearance. The trial into her disappearance is currently underway in Saldanha Bay on the Cape West Coast. The state alleges that Jocelyn was kidnapped and trafficked. The accused include Jocelyn's mother, Kelly Smith, the mother's boyfriend, Jacqueline Apollos, and Stivono van Rijn. Jocelyn went missing from Middelbos informal settlement in Saldanha on the West Coast in February last year.